and welcome to our pod. And by that, I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are usually two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. But today we are three friends.
Three best friends.
Because we are welcoming to the podcast MJ Kuhn, who wrote Among Thieves and is also just very prolific because she is also the co-host of SFF Addicts. Welcome to the pod.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
We're so excited you're here.
I'm thrilled about this because I feel like we're already friends because I listen to your podcast all the time.
Oh my God. I always think about that. This is like a little off the rails, but I saw this meme one time where it was just like a guy sitting on the floor next to like a billboard for a McDonald's ad where all the people in the ad are eating salad and he's sitting on the floor eating salad and pretending to laugh. And the caption was like, "This is what listening to a podcast feels like." And it's so true.
It does.
It's so true. Because it's like, I feel like I'm with you when I listen to your show, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I know you.
It's one of those weird things where you're like, I know all these intimate details about you, but I've never said hello. So
I was just thinking like, yeah, MJ, why are we promoting your book? You should be promoting your book like Adrian always says to do it.
Right. Yes. Adrian always likes to pimp my stuff.
That's a good friend, though. I mean,
He's always got that book over there in the corner.
Oh, yeah. Like stood up right into the shot. I love it.
It's amazing. No, I'm also excited because this is like the easiest little tangent. Like we're already going off on so many tangents, but us covering this book is also a little tangent because Laura and I were like, oh, we want to just like try a new season. And Laura's like, let's cover Among Thieves. And I was like, okay, like done. And so we call it a No Rules November, even though most of it's in October because we like the alliteration.
I love that.
So we have been covering your book Among Thieves, which just had its sequel published this year, Thick as Thieves.
Thick as Thieves.
I love your book titles. They're amazing and they make me happy. So
thank you.
I will never not hear
to come up with Thick as Thieves, but now everyone says Thick ass Thieves, and I'm like, yes. You know what? I'm gonna just own it. I'm going with it.
Oh my
I was just gonna say I will never not say Thick as Thieves.
Thick as Thieves, baby.
I hope that's just your hashtag every time you're promoting the show.
It should be, honestly.
That's just a good way to
compelling clicks.
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing.
Getting into it, MJ, on SFF Addicts, I often hear you asking authors like what their journey as a reader looked like and what books kind of like set that spark in them. So I'm wondering what books were things that kind of inspired you to become a writer?
Yeah, so my gateway drug to the world of fantasy in general was Redwall. I don't know if you guys were Redwall kids.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. I was a big time Redwall kid. Like objectively maybe too much of a Redwall kid. Like me and all my friends, I had like this little core group of like 4 great friends, and we would all read all the Redwall books. We'd get so into them, and then for like context, I wasn't like 14. I was like 8. We would like run around at recess and like pretend that we were like mice and like members of the Long Patrol and like
oh yeah,
do all these fun games. Clearly, we were popular and very cool.
I mean, it would be more concerning if you were high schoolers collecting mice for those reasons. Like, what are you in the biology lab for again? It's a Redwall thing.
Or you're like, we're part of a Redwall LARPing group.
With a tiny, a tiny sword made out of toothpicks. What are you doing in here?
That's amazing.
All right. Well, if I'd thought of that maybe at the time. But yeah, so it was the gateway drug. I always say that, and then it wasn't a book. It's obviously based on books. But I watched the Lord of the Rings films when I was like, I don't know, 9-10 years older, and then forever now until to present and forever. And those were like super foundational for me too, and just loving all the like classic fantasy sword and sorcery type things. But yeah, those were kind of the beginnings of enjoying the genre. And then the first thing I ever wrote that was like a quote unquote book, by which I mean I folded a bunch of construction paper in half and stapled it in the middle and like wrote on it with pen when I was like 9, was basically Redwall fan fiction. So yeah,
cool.
100% my origin story there.
One of Laura's favorite things to bring up on the pod is I wrote fan fiction, and it's like still out in the ether somewhere.
We've yet to find it.
And I had a pen name, and I was like, it's very specific and very niche, and no one should read it.
Interesting. Okay, well now we got to join the hunt. All right, find this.
I mean,
you
most
can
of
help
it,
me find it.
you can help me find it. But
We'll
I love that you
we'll
had
connect after.
I love that you had Redwall fan fiction. That's amazing. Also, like young writer stories. I remember like my first one was about like flying horses. So there's something specific about childhood fantasy. So I'm right there with you.
You can tell really what people are into by the fan fiction that they write. Hannah was a horse girl.
Window into the soul. Yeah, I was a rat girl. Still am.
I do like that implication that Laura's like, well, she was a horse girl. And you're like, mine was Redwall fiction. Thank you very much.
Yeah. There are rats mentioned multiple times in Among Thieves, though. So I guess you could make the argument that you still are.
Grown up rat girl. I'm here for it. I'm owning it, to be quite honest with you.
The world doesn't have enough rat girls, honestly.
I mean, fair, right?
Yeah.
It's a whole new genre. No, not the hot girl. No, rat girl. I'm here for it. I'm just sitting here. I do eat like a cheese stick for an alarming amount of meals. We might be onto something.
It all leads back to Redwall fan fiction and becoming a rat girl.
Or it could be leading into writer stress, but I mean,
potato.
Potato, yes. Exactly the same. In Among Thieves, we're on the continent of Thamor. And is that how you say it?
It's Tamor because I put a silent H because I'm a dick.
Okay. People are always doing that to me.
Everyone says Thamor and I don't mind.
Tamor. Okay.
I made it up anyways.
Right now.
How dare you get
real.
my
It doesn't matter.
I know, right? It's not a real word. Yeah.
Well, that place is actually really complicated and has like a really unique political and magic system. So can you kind of tell us like what your writing process was and how you developed your world and your characters? For sure. Yeah. So listeners of SFF Addicts will know this already, that I am like an intense plotter, like to the degree that I make people really sick. Actually, it's super fun. I'm actively working on a different project right now that I'm currently breaking down to note cards to re-outline. Because anyways, but yeah, so how I always start any new project, step one is the world. I know everyone does their stuff differently. There's no wrong way to do it. This is not prescriptive writing advice, blah, 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 all the disclaimers. But for me, I think world informs everything, right? So to me, every character is going to in some way be a product of their world, whether they are going along with the society, rebelling against the society, whether they are high up in the society, whether they are trodden down by the society, right? Like everything is informed by the world. And then the way the plot can progress is informed by who the characters are. Obviously, like, as I'm planning it all, I kind of ping pong around all those different things and kind of go back and forth. And, you flesh it all out as you go. But I always start with the bones of the world. So the world of Thamor actually is from a very old NaNoWriMo project that died.
Which no NaNoWriMo projects have ever done before. Like
never, ever.
One.
It was the first one that just went off the rails. Crazy. But yeah, it was I tried to pants a novel, which not my process. That's okay. So it was actually a story about one of the adept children growing up on the island, and it was like a young adult story. Yeah. Which I still think that was an interesting story, and I liked the world and I liked the magic system that I had built from that. But at the time I was like, okay, we have a really dark world full of really dark, fucked up things. Because the magic system for the folks that, I haven't picked up the book yet, it's basically babies that are born magical get kidnapped when they're babies and shipped off to this island where ? happens to them. And then they emerge as adults, just completely brainwashed, basically blank slate. Essentially, people think they're brainless, right? And they are sold to the highest bidder great, yay, terrible society, right? So it's a really dark world, really dark magic system. And then I had this really young, scared character moving through that world, and it just made everything really dark. In like a not like a Abercrombie grimdark awesome way, but just in kind of like a my soul feels heavy right now
like
sort of way.
Like I'm depressed.
Yeah, like ooh, I don't know. Like if I was reading this, I might be like, I don't really want to read this anymore. So I took that world and I was like, let's lighten things up by putting it, showing this world through the lens of a bunch of characters that are just like older and jaded. They don't give a fuck, and they you know what I mean, they are a bit stronger, they have a bit more agency in this world, and I think that to me that balanced it out a little bit better. But yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And then just, I mean, I can get into the nitty gritty of world building, but basically Microsoft OneNote is my best friend. I create a different folder for every kingdom, and then I will start with inspiration images. So I'll be like, okay, the Kingdom of Brielle. I know I want it to be in the South. I know I want it to have like this kind of vibe. And then so like I found images of like, places in the real world that like is a desert, and then there's one of like a tropical coast and whatever, because Brielle's huge, right? So it's got a range of climates. And then Gildemar, I was like, oh, I'm kind of envisioning the south of France for Gildemar, right? Like let's get some vineyards up in here, let's get some of these things, right? Like let's picture Nice and like all this stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what I start with, and then I will for each kingdom flesh out like political structure and customs, holidays, religions, everything. Like what are like the random little sort of, intangible things that people know when they're from this kingdom or not. So then, it's stuff that will never make it on the page, especially like we don't even go to Brielle in this, but I have a whole bunch of stuff about Brielle, because we mention Brielle, we talk about it, we see characters who are Brillish. And so I needed to understand the world that those characters were coming from so that I could write them, if that makes sense. It's maybe too much.
I mean, it definitely makes sense. It definitely makes sense. And like from a podcasting standpoint, you get into a situation like this and somebody asks you like, oh, how did you come up with this? And why is so-and-so like that? And you're like, well, actually, when they were in third grade, they had something happen to them.
Exactly. And it's like, whoa.
As someone who is a pantser when they're writing, I'm always impressed by plotters. It's like my favorite thing in the world to hear, because I'm like, I can't do, like, I'm someone who I'll write it and I'll be like, I forgot I wrote that. That's funny.
I love that though, because that's, I don't know if you guys have chatted with Hannah Long yet. She's one of my really good friends. She is also a pantser, and we like riff all the time because like I think she's a wizard. I have no idea how that works, because then when I was trying to pants a project recently, which again failed, I keep trying. I want to be a pantser. I'm an aspiring pantser. Maybe it
sounds so easy, but also it's not, because you have to reread your stuff like, so much.
Romantic, right? To like just let the story flow through you. Like I want to be that writer, and I'm just not. But yeah, I came to her and I was like, okay, so like, what do I need to like start? Like, what do I need to know before I start? And she's like, I don't know, like an image. And I was like, to start the whole book, like just an image, like an opening image. I don't need like I don't need a magic system. And she's like, well, no,
you'll figure it out.
Figure it out as you go. And I was like, okay, this is not.
I actually
witchcraft.
think
Witchcraft.
The best display of a pantser I've ever seen on film is a random Netflix movie called Set It Up, where the girl is sitting there trying to write an article and she's like, I can't write this. It's going to be awful. And her friend goes, of course it's going to be awful. It's a first draft. And I was like, that is every pantser everywhere. Like, just be like, do. It's got to be awful before it's going to get good.
I mean, to be fair though, my first drafts are still awful. All the outlining, I'm like, oh, they're still bad.
Still bad.
Part of the journey.
Just part of the process.
Right. We live in the suck and it's okay.
I wrote today, I hated everything. I think I'm going to keep 2 sentences.
100% relatable.
Well, you said kind of like what made you decide to like go with like thieves and smugglers, so lighten it up and see like some messy people, but like what made you like draw in on like these group of people, and like what made you kind of focus in on these specific thieves and smugglers with their different motivations?
Yeah, so honestly, okay, so first of all, Raya is a character that I stole from myself. So you guys probably have, I don't know, I have a bunch of trunked projects, right? So projects I wrote years ago when I was not as good of a writer as I am now. And I'm sure, in X number of years, I'll look back at the ones that I don't finish today and go, oh my God, same thing. Right. So people will ask me a lot of times now that like, oh, I've had, a book published, whatever. Are you going to go back and try to get those ones published? And I'm like, first of all, they're bad. No. Second of all, I couldn't if I wanted to, because I have cannibalized the shit out of all of those projects. Right. So Raya actually came from the very first book I ever wrote. She was the main character from that. She was a little less gritty. I've kind of darkened her up a little bit because it's just so fun. But like, her like basic vibe, like what she does, what she's about, her like backstory vaguely of, having to flit around, run from place to place, and not really having a home. Right. That came from an older story. So I already had Raya. I knew I wanted to put her in the world. That was kind of the impetus where I was like, ooh, this character could be a really great lens for this really dark world. Right. And then I was like, what is really great are heist stories, and The Lies of Locke Lamora is one of my favorite books of all time. So what if I write a heist story? And so that is where the rest of the characters came from, was this idea that I wanted to write a heist. And so I kind of started with the archetypes that I wanted to have on my squad. And then I just kind of tried to take them in some expected and some unexpected directions from there, to kind of, because I feel like, tropes are home. We need to have some of those. I feel like, tropes get hate a lot of times, but there's a reason why there are tropes. And it's because having the disguise master, having the straight man, right? Or, it's Evelyn, who is neither straight nor a man, but the guy that turns, to the bad crew, right? Like, these are tropes because they're effective, and I wanted to use them because they're oh so fun. So yeah, that's where the rest of my little crew of murder babies came from.
I also feel like people don't like point out enough that people say tropes and then immediately after they're like, and you inverted the trope, and it's like, no, you just had a unique perspective of the trope.
Yes! That's exactly it. Because like, to me, a trope is not, I don't know. And I think a lot of people feel this way too. The trope is not the like, carbon copy of what someone else did. It is, technically, could we say the 3-act structure is a trope? Maybe. I don't know. To me, it's like a framework that I'm using to tell my own story in my own unique way, but using those like familiar hallmarks that make people latch on to things because it's familiar, which I don't think is a bad thing.
That's all that reminds me of is they've had recently all the Disney news of like, oh, they're going to start having showrunners and having like people who plot out the entire series. And it's like, you mean how normal people write television?
How are they normal, right?
They're like, oh, so the trope of like normal television, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, God, how dare they? Ugh. Yeah. You know what I hate? A fully fleshed out plot that pays off in the end.
Not just people writing random episodes here and there.
I would prefer everything be as chaotic and nonsensical as possible.
Well, some of them do too, apparently.
Fair.
So you do an excellent job describing and setting scenes so that readers can actually visualize where they are in the book. Do you enjoy fleshing out descriptions of the places and things in your books, or do you have to work to find a balance between like, this is too much, I'm getting into Robert Jordan describing a dress territory?
This was supposed to be for a note card. This was not on the page.
Right? Yeah, exactly. This was not. I love that question, and I love that description of the Robert Jordan describing a dress. So for me, I am an underwriter initially. So I chronically, like, I hate first drafts. Canonically, I've said it a million times. I will scream it from the rooftops. First drafts make me want to cry. So I usually just try to like barf out as much of the plot and some dialogue, because I could write dialogue all day, as quickly as possible. And so my first drafts frequently will clock in at like 60K words, super short. And then I go back, and that's when I add character development. I mean, like their arcs are there, but they are like, largely undescribed. We might have no idea what the characters even look like in my first draft. Like, I know in my head, but I didn't put it on the paper because that felt hard. But yeah, so describing scenes and stuff, I feel like in general, I have said like, okay, there was like this Twitter trend that was going on a while ago that was like, what is something readers will never accuse you of, right? And I was like, haha, purple prose, because I tend to under describe things, and then like, you know, my editors and or agent and beta readers and whatever will come in and be like, what's happening in here? And I'm like, that's a good question. I should probably tell you that. So yeah, it's hard for me. It's fun to do it in micro doses, which is why I come back and do it in edits. Actually, I'm really good at describing things in the first like 2 chapters, and then after that, I'll just be like, it's fine, whatever, boop, boop, boop. Tappity tap away. I'm just gonna write the plot down. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that's actually really interesting, because I would never have thought about it happening that way. I would have thought it being the reverse, where you have like way too much and you're like, yeah, I had to cut it down from like 400,000 words to this.
Well, that's true for a lot of writers. Like I know a few folks that their first drafts frequently clock in at like 350K, which sounds awful to me.
You wrote 350 of them,
but also the way that I do it sounds awful to those people, because they're like, oh my god, once you finish writing the first, you have to come back and you have to write more first draft. And it's like, yeah, but it feels better because it's like I'm just doing little bits, so I can like kind of really hone in and like drill deep on that one thing, instead of like trying to, I don't know, to me it feels like, you know, taking it one bite at a time versus trying to, you know, do the whole thing in one go. Right. There's no wrong way to do it. It's just a whole, I don't know.
No. I love this because you like know so much about your writing process. It's very interesting.
Yes.
Like we haven't gone that in depth with this before. So this is awesome. So with this book, like we have a lot of like the found family trope, if you
yes,
but with a heist, which I also love very much. So kind of what drew you to discuss like the people kind of being isolated and going towards one goal, but like very different end results for that goal? Because that's kind of, it's very similar to a lot of heists, but it's also very unique with like how you played it out, where we know all their motivations. It's just the others who aren't privy to it.
So my thing, I love heist stuff, right? Like the Ocean's films, and I've read Six of Crows now, and Crooked Kingdom, and obviously the Gentleman Bastard series, all of those things. It always made me curious though, that like, you know, okay, I'm going to spoil the first 10 minutes of the Italian Job right now, but it always made me curious why that doesn't happen more. So in the first 10 minutes of the Italian Job, you see like, it's really basically a flashback sequence of a previous job where they got the shit, but one guy screwed everybody over and took and ran. And I was always like, you got a whole group of miscreants. Like, you would think that would happen more often. So I, you know, decided to kind of play with that. And I, you know, as I was building my characters too, I was kind of noticing that each of them has like just something really, they're all really broken. I don't know. they're just severely broken humans, and I love them. But you know, it's not so much even that, oh, they're just going to take it because they're selfish and run. Like each of them has a really valid reason to think that this is their only way out, right? Either I get this loot myself, or it's all over for me, or it's all over for, you know, my family, it's all over for my brother, whatever. So I don't know, I wanted to play with that a little bit. And I love I don't know, I love this is gonna sound weird, I love betrayal. Betrayal is a great trope for me, or like a great thing that's in books, because to me there are few tropes, or not tropes, but like emotional gut punches that are as relatable in a book to everyone, really. Because you know, pretty much everyone's been betrayed in some way, shape, or form in their life. And to me, anytime I'm reading a book and that betrayal happens, like it's like a visceral, like just you feel your stomach sink, and it's like, no. So yeah, just basically I wanted to inflict pain on my readers is what it sounds like I'm getting at, but there we are.
Isn't that all authors though?
I mean, it is a little bit.
I want you to feel a little pain,
right?
Fonda Lee loves to gut punch people, so you guys would probably be friends.
So good at it, right?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. The master of the gut punch, legit.
Gosh.
Sometimes she just writes 800 pages. I'm like, you're gonna be sad. Like,
You know
right?
what? I
Would you like to cry the whole time?
Yes. Make people cry. That's what Fonda Lee's goal
you know,
is
this
with her
character.
writing.
Sorry, not to bring up other authors. authors, but it's like, you know, this
Everyone
other
loves.
character or this character everyone hates. Do you want me to give him the most tragic ending possible where you feel bad and you cry over them? And you're like, why am I crying over this
You're
character?
like, but
Because
I didn't even like them.
like, this was a
It's a
deeply
masterful
flawed
skill.
person. Like,
Fonda.
oh.
We made her apologize. Don't worry.
Good. Apologize for her crimes.
Oh yeah.
MJ, along the lines of the motivations of your characters, this is maybe a little spoilery, but which one do you think is the most justifiable in their
Ooh.
actions in the
In their
book?
quest.
Yeah.
All right. Nash. She's the only one that's not a dick.
Oh.
That was the easy way out. That was
I know,
the
that
easy
was
way
okay.
out.
All right. If we're gonna go with the ones that are actually going to betray each other, Raya. And it is spoiler territory, but it's because what she wants to do is, it's a messy thing for the world, but it ultimately would be healing for the world, even if that's not why she wants to do it. It's ultimately a good thing to do.
She may have some more selfish reasons, but it's like ultimate, like greater overarching good.
She would be doing the right thing for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And then she wouldn't even really probably know that that's the reasons why, you know, whatever. But yeah, that would be the person that I think has the most valid thing, because pretty much anyone else wants to take this super weapon and give it to someone even worse than the guy that has it.
Yeah.
None of those options are good.
Even like Ivan trying to like explain why he's going to do it. I'm like, Ivan, that's not a good idea. No,
Right?
what?
I did love when he's like, I'm justified in this. I'm like, I'm not
No.
sure you are.
Right?
I'm like, sure he
Take a
actually said
moment.
I'm justified. It's like, no, you're not.
Like, oh, honey, take a beat. Just think about this.
That was also like Tristan at the end where he was like, I never thought about that. I'm like, you didn't? Like, how did you?
Tristan
my
is head
guy.
empty, no thoughts. We know this.
he's just a tiny himbo.
He's a bit of a himbo, yeah.
He's over there like, Raya's so
skinny little
beautiful.
himbo.
I don't get it. Why doesn't she like me?
I just love her so much, guys. And everyone around him is like, but you shouldn't.
Right,
You
but,
should not.
Again, oh, honey.
Because we're talking about characters and their motivations, like this is a POV book. Which POV did you find yourself most drawn to, and which one did you struggle with the most?
Ooh, I love this question. So, I mean, I had fun writing a lot of the POVs. I think Raya was probably the most fun to write just because she's so snarky. I also liked Evelyn because just like her voice is so unique from the rest of the crew. Well, from the rest of the crews from Dresdel, at least, because you know they're from like the lower classes of Dresdel, and she's from like the upper crust of Dresdel, so like she has different slang, she uses different phrasing and stuff, which was kind of fun to play with. The voice that was hardest for me was Ivan. And for a couple reasons. One, because I mean all of my characters are emotionally guarded, emotionally unavailable train wrecks. He is probably the most. Also, though, too, I wanted to play with okay, so for the book is written in English. However, the book is written in Tamori Common, is the language that they're like speaking when they're talking to each other. For Ivan, Tamori Common is not his first language. It's a learned language. His first language is Borean. So I wanted in his dialogue, but also in his like internal monologue in the chapters, I wanted to make it have that degree of separation where it's almost like, I it's not like I was ever fluent, but I used to speak pretty good German, and I like lived in Germany for a summer and stuff, and so like I know that feeling of translating in your head before you say something out loud. And I kind of wanted to translate that onto the page, so his vernacular is a little more formal. He doesn't use like contractions or the same slang as everybody else, and that was hard to edit too, because as you're just writing, sometimes stuff will slip through and you're like, oh, but Ivan's brain doesn't work like that. Like Ivan wouldn't say that. So that was definitely the hardest POV to write for me.
That's really interesting, because I wouldn't have thought about that yeah, he would maybe have to be like kind of translating for himself. That's really cool.
I love a good linguistic in a novel.
Yeah.
Sneak it in there.
Okay, so my next question that I have on here is not even a question. I just put I hate vomit too, because you mentioned several times about Evelyn like just going on a paragraph rant about how vomiting's the worst. So I
It is the
think that's why I
worst.
put that there. I just
Subjectively
never
the
edited it.
worst. And it's
No.
terrible.
No one likes it. Like I hear people who are like, "Oh yeah, when I was pregnant, I was puking every day," and I was like, "You were puking every day?" Like,
There are some people though that will be like, "Oh, vomiting's not as bad as X," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"You're wrong. It's the worst."
I agree. That is a character trait I stole from myself to give to Evelyn.
This is disgusting.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard people be like, just go make yourself sick. And I was like, I would rather feel sick. Like,
Yeah,
no.
then actually 100%. That is my
Right.
toxic trait is like, no, I'll actually just eat another sleeve of saltines and hope this goes away. Thank you.
Right.
I'll just go to bed. I'll make myself sleep. It's fine.
I'll wake up. I'll be fine. Maybe.
But an actual question, something that's like really great about this book is first of all the short chapters, and because I love it when you can read a chapter quickly and like stay involved. But secondly, you keep the suspense alive throughout the novel, and like literally as I'm getting towards the end of the chapter, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna find out. She's gonna leave me hanging. So did you find it difficult to kind of keep everyone on edge with the plot?
So I'm a short chapter bitch when I'm reading. I like a book. I will read a book that has long chapters. I will. I won't be happy about it. Because okay, to me it's like buying the pack of mini muffins or watching a TV show instead of a movie. I am not going to eat a whole muffin. I am not going to sit and choose to watch a movie. Will I eat 5 mini muffins that is larger than the original muffin? Yes. Will I watch 6 episodes of a TV show that's going to be longer than the 2-hour movie that I would have watched? Absolutely. Because I like to you know what I mean? It feels I have options to stop. I have bailout points. That's how I am as a reader. So that's how I like to be as a writer too. Because I don't know, just whatever. I'm writing the books I want to read. But yeah, no, I think also switching POVs makes it really easy to leave people on cliffhangers, because frequently, you know, the end of a chapter will kind of be like in the middle of a scene. So I don't even have to wrap the scene up. I can just like hop into somebody else's head. Which yeah, I had a lot of fun with leaving those cliffhangers. So it was very fun for me.
Awesome. Something else that goes with like the cliffhangers is there's just action in so many portions of this novel. Like it's not like a 600-page novel, but there's so many things that happen like one right after the other. And even as I got towards the end, I'm like, wait, we don't know what's coming. And I'm like 5 pages from the end. How do I not know the resolution of this book? So like is action and like writing out action something you're drawn to like during your writing process for finalizing the book? And like how did you kind of create that different like these action-packed scenes? So
it's funny, I actually hate writing fight sequences, which is really funny, especially I know it's so hard for me. I will have to edit them a whole bunch, and you know, because I'm not like you know, I've done boxing, but that's it. Like I'm not like a trained sword fighter or whatever, which I've met some fantasy authors that are, and I'm like, I need to do that.
Fonda
like,
Lee, she's just like an actual fighter, and you're like,
yeah,
seriously,
like,
Fonda.
Well,
Seal Clark, yeah, Sheree. They're into sword fighting. Gosh,
well, we talked to CM Caplan.
Okay,
Caplan is like, I never use a weapon I haven't touched myself. And I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
So many weapons.
That would be ideal, right? Like that would be the best case scenario for me. But it actually did make me feel a little better because we on our podcast on SFF Addicts, we just talked to Ed McDonald, so author of, you know, a bunch of books, but like Daughter and Traitor of Redwinter, the 2 that he's written most recently. And he is a trade sword fighter. And he actually said that he purposely fictionalizes his sword fights. Like he'll put stuff in there that wouldn't actually fly in a real fight because cinematically it hits better. And I was like, I love that. Thank you for saying that, because now I feel better.
Real life is too boring.
Right?
Real life is boring. Okay.
The example he gave is like apparently sidestepping a sword strike is like pretty much not a thing. Because you would just like, boop, it's like
Right.
you just move it over. You just hit again. It's not that hard.
Just reach.
Yeah. So I was like,
watch someone move, and you're like,
Yeah,
okay,
you're like, good move, buddy. But he's like, I put people sidestepping swords all the time because cinematically, it's whatever. It's more engaging to the reader. But yeah, so I don't love writing fight sequences. I love writing arguments though, because dialogue. I did say this one time. I was like, man, I wish I could write a book that was just like do the world building, write dialogue. And someone was like, you want to write a screenplay? And I was like, oh. I mean, I don't, but like fair.
But I don't.
Fair point. Fair point. But yeah, so what I'll do a lot of times is you'll notice a lot of my fight sequences are verbal, like people are actually just having an argument. And so instead of trying to write a whole fight sequence that is just engaging, I'll just write an argument and then I add the fight tags as my dialogue tags.
That's awesome.
It's my cheater move. So yeah.
It's a good way to trick yourself into writing action though, because it's like, well, I'm not writing action. I'm just writing.
I'm just
dialogue.
writing an argument. Yeah, that's all I'm doing.
They're just fighting. No one's gotten up yet. They're still sitting down.
They're just sitting. They're vibing. It's fine. And then, yeah.
So in Among Thieves, it's mentioned several times that sleight of hand or things happening in plain sight are not being noticed. And this was kind of my experience as a reader of Among Thieves, because things were happening right in plain sight that I wasn't picking up on as a reader. So how much planning kind of went into making sure that these things happened without making them too obvious?
So much planning. Oh my God. So much planning. Okay, so I have read, I don't read my own reviews anymore, but when it first got published, I did, because I'm human and we all do it. We say we don't, we do it. Just don't engage with the reviews and don't let them make you too sad. But like, if you read a few when it first comes out, I feel like that's natural. But I read several where people were like, I totally saw this reveal coming and whatever. And I was like, oh, nuts. But I read, others where other people did not see that reveal coming. And I was like, okay, there's going to be some part of the population's going to pick up on it no matter what. But yeah, so my plotting process is really intense. I plot in Microsoft Excel, as listeners of SFF Addicts will know. But yeah, so for Among Thieves and Thick as Thieves specifically, for each of them, especially Among Thieves, so like we had 5 heists going at the same time in Among Thieves, right? So I literally had a column for the main plot, then a column for Clem's heist, Raya's heist, Ivan's heist, Nash's. Well, Nash is with Clem. Kristen's heist, right? All of them with what they're planning to do. And then, you can kind of coincide what's happening where. And I feel like the trick that I was able to use, so the fun of going to multi-POV was that I needed to do that so everyone could see inside each character's head and understand why they were doing what they were doing. My goal was that while you're in Evelyn's head, you want Evelyn to win, and then you swiftly jump to Raya's head and you're like, well, no, because I want Raya to win, but if Raya wins, Evelyn can't win, and oh no, right? That's kind of what I wanted to create. A happy coincidence of what I got to benefit from in that is also things can happen where other characters, so it could be in Evelyn's head while Raya is doing some machination over here, and it's in the background because Evelyn doesn't really notice, but it's there, right? So theoretically, a reader could see it. It's not going to come out of left field completely when something happens. So I feel like that was like, I got to use that as a trick, right? Where it's like, I'm not in the head of the character that's doing the thing. Yeah. So it's just kind of like in the background happening. Okay. And maybe we see it and maybe we don't.
It also is definitely like a way to like recognize that people are very much within their own story, even as something's playing out, that they wouldn't see that. And so you get into that character and then you're not going to see that.
Right. Yeah. It's like gosh, what is that classic video that I think we all probably watched in some entry-level psychology class in college?
Oh yeah, where they're like, watch this basketball game, and then the bear comes
and
through.
Then the panda like walks through, like a guy, not a real panda, obviously, a guy in a panda suit.
Yeah.
And the first time you watch it through, I legitimately did not see that man in the panda suit the first time I watched it, and I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's it.
There's so many psychological studies on that. We've been talking a ton about these characters, and like you said, they're all messy little warped babies. But
Little
what was
gremlins.
what was it like kind of building the different relationship dynamics? Because they're all very different. The way they speak to each other is different. Like their energies and feelings, like they're just so there's so many layers.
I also, so back to my Excel spreadsheet, I also had a column for each like duo, not every duo, but like the ones. So like I had like Raya had a character arc column, Evelyn had a character arc column, Raya and Evelyn's relational arc had its own column. Same with Raya and Tristan, same with Ivan and Nash. So it was very fun to kind of set those characters up. I think too, it's one of the really fun things about having an ensemble cast, right? Like, yes, Raya is our like capital M main character, right? Like if we have to pick one, I would say she's the most main. But we really have like 5 main characters that have, their own POV chapters and stuff. And I've compared the process of writing that to like, when you watch the show Friends, yes, you have your standard pair ups, right? Where you have, Rachel's going to be with Monica and whatever. But aren't some of the really funny episodes when Rachel is like with Chandler for no reason, eating cheesecake on the hallway floor, right? That was Chandler?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that was them.
There is a huge theory that they have like the best friendship because there are certain episodes where she will drop in at his office and she's like, Chandler, I was coming in for lunch. And it's like, those two just hang out and no
Do
one
they just have
sees
lunch
it.
without everyone?
Yeah. But like it mostly happens with those two characters. Like people have gone on like, well, like Chandler and Phoebe never interact, but weirdly, Rachel and Chandler have a lot of like underlying connections that no one talks
Besties.
about. They
totally do though.
It's
when she was like hanging out with or he was trying to hang out with her boss, whatever. Anyways,
Yeah.
that was a rabbit hole. But like, that's kind of a fun thing to do too when you have an ensemble cast, is you can kind of put those characters that don't talk very much in a scene together, or in a piece of dialogue together, which can be kind of fun and interesting. And like you have Tristan and Evelyn have to talk to each other. Okay, well, this is a little bit different. Like they don't normally, hang out that much. What's gonna happen? So I feel like I had a little bit of fun playing with that. More so, honestly, in the sequel. I did a lot of traditional pairing mix-ups when I was writing the sequel, and I had a lot of fun with it.
That's good.
We also get these deeper themes beyond just like all the heists and fun and action, where we have questions of humanity and freedom in regards to the adept population. What made you want to kind of play with this in your writing?
Yeah, it's heavy, right? So the concept of the adept, their story, it's troubling. It's not pretty. It's ugly. It's awful. The political system of this world is, basically the guild master, the guy that is in charge of this island where all the adept are taken, the magic wielders in this world. He kind of runs the show because if you piss him off, you can't buy any more of his human servants. Yay. So but no, what I wanted to explore there is, I say half joking usually that this world was born of my lack of faith in humanity, because I think in general, people, speaking as broad, right, like the royal we, right, like to control our surroundings. We like to have agency in our world and our lives. Things we don't understand, often initially the reaction is fear. And things that we fear, often initially the reaction is to attempt to control it. So my concept of this world where there are many people that don't wield magic and few that do, I thought that it was very reasonable leap from there that the many would seek to control those few because they were afraid of what they could accomplish with their magic, that they were the only ones that had. So yeah, that was, and we kind of I like that I like that Raya is the first eyes that we see the adept through, because this is like, I don't know, kind of a subtle detail, maybe not that subtle, but you'll notice in the book in the beginning Raya is the only one that uses proper pronouns when talking about the adepts, he, she, they. Everyone else says it. And as the book progresses, a few more of our crew begin to start using those he, she, they pronouns. And because they start learning more and seeing because what they've been raised with, they didn't know any other way. So yeah, I just felt like I wanted to kind of play with that a little bit. And again, that was actually one of the foundational themes that I had in the very first, NaNoWriMo iteration of this book that was too dark. That was kind of the beating heart of the whole story, was this idea of, safety versus freedom versus, being a good human. And I had these kind of really big heady ideas, and then I just sneakily snuck in a goofy little heist story, so joke's on you.
Tricked us again, just right in plain sight.
Look, you're reading a heist book, but also you're reading about power dynamics and the need to control things we do not understand.
But also, bam.
Well, and to get into a little bit more spoilery territory, so if you guys haven't been listening the past couple of weeks while we've been covering this book, or haven't read the book, please turn it down now or walk away. But a huge theme of this is like the loss of control of like people's bodies, and that is a huge portion of this, and we see that through the adept, and we also see that through Tristan and through Raya, who both are kind of like they were born into a certain like standard of person, and then because of what they were born into, they are treated a certain way or they have certain reactions. And as someone who did call the Tristan Lost Prince plot, I was shocked that like it turned as dark as it did, because I thought he had just kind of run away, and then it turned to this darker storyline. So like, what kind of went into making that messiness of like watching people like have their bodily autonomy taken away from them through like parentage, or like even through, in this book, I thought one of the darkest things was like the adepts, their control was taken away from them by another adept. So what made you go for that dark theme of like people who you should be able to trust being the ones who took away the power?
Yeah, well, it comes back to betrayal again, right? Like that's just a theme that I like kind of wanted to explore the in and out and every angle of. It is often the most, I mean, honestly, for someone to betray you, you have to have once trusted them. And so, and as heartbreaking as it is, there are so many people in this world who cannot trust their family, their parents, the people that are supposed to, be the people they can trust the most. This feels like a good part of the show to say what I always say when this question comes up. I actually have a great relationship with my parents. Because
you don't wish death upon them.
They weren't performing experiments on you?
Like fathers, like look at like Evelyn has a shit father, Tristan has a shit father, Raya has a shit father. I'm like, my dad's great. I love my dad. So I feel like that I'll just float that out there. So that's not where it comes from. But yeah, just I think too, I liked to put the parallels between people that are in radically different social strata, struggling with some of the same demons in slightly different, radically different ways, but in different ways. I mean, ultimately, like the challenge of, oh, sorry, I have a cat that just jumped onto my lap.
Oh, beautiful though. Look at the cat.
Surprise guest. But yeah, so Raya, her father doesn't want to, kill her, but he's turning her into, a monster in her perception. And Tristan's father literally wants to use him as a political pawn, murder him to ignite a war.
No big deal.
Great dad of the year right there.
I mean, if I had a nickel
for every time that happened,
that seems pretty common.
Right?
I'd have two nickels, which is a lot.
But it's weird that it happened twice. Oh my god. But yeah, it's just, I wanted to play with that kind of idea of no one's safe. Betrayal can come from anywhere, and it can come for anyone. And I think too that it's it gives some, I feel like, okay, so I've talked about this a little bit in terms of like making characters sympathetic or whatever, in some blog or maybe another show or something. I think you have to give a character kind of like that relatable touchstone, either to the reader or to the other characters or whatever, if you want them to be sympathetic. So, you know, we wanted, Tristan, whatever, this is the spoiler heavy part, right?
Yeah, this is spoiler heavy.
Okay, yeah, Tristan ultimately, fuck you, Tristan, come on, man. Also, we want to sympathize with him, right? Because we understand that he's got this really complicated wound in his past, and he's really backed up against the wall, right? So I kind of wanted to play with that too, just, you know, everyone is fighting a demon you know nothing about, right? Like that old adage is very true. And so yeah, that's why all my poor characters have terrible parents. They need therapy so badly.
I mean, fuck Tristan so much, but also like I felt like when it turned dark, I was like, oh, you're right. It was like the perfect moment of me being like, well, now I feel like I have to be on his side. Like, I
kind of had that same feeling, Hannah, because I was like, screw you, Tristan, get out of here. And then when we find out, you're like, oh, that's too bad.
Because at that turn of the point, you're just like, oh God, what's so bad? You're a prince. I'm so sorry. And
yeah.
Like, well,
poor guy. I was literally gonna get murdered. It's fine.
It's fine. By his own father for political gain. Not even for like a good reason, but to be like, it's literally like the Princess Bride, where it's like, I'm gonna murder her and put her on the steps of someone else.
Yes.
Totally though, right? Yeah. What a great film, by the way. 10 out of 10.
So good. I was actually thinking about it with the sword fighting you were describing, and I was like, oh yeah, it's like Princess Bride. Like that's not. Oh my God,
did I accidentally have my whole book inspired by Princess Bride? It may have been. That was a very formative film for me in my childhood.
There are worse books or movies to base your book on.
Super fair. Super fair.
MJ, what is some of the best advice that you have received in regards to writing, maybe from like another author or like anybody you know, and what advice would you give to other writers?
Good question. Love this question. So, okay, I have gotten a lot of really great writing advice from a lot of people. So hold on. I'm thinking, well, okay, my first favorite piece of writing advice is one of these days, I'm going to remember to Google it because I've quoted this in like a million times. I have no idea where I got it from. It was some writing blog. I got it in like 2015. Like this was baby writer Mallory, right? The quote is something to the effect of like, your first draft is gathering sand. Your editing process is building your sandcastle. I love that as writing advice. Because it's like really like it goes back to the first draft can be bad, right? It's like I'm just gathering all my players. I'm putting all my pieces on the board here. I'll figure out where they all actually go later. I'm just like gathering all my stuff. So that's one. My second one is very foul-mouthed and it's great and I love it. Okay, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chuck Wendig at all. So he's fantastic. He's written a bunch of books. He wrote some Star Wars books. Wanderers and Wayward are two of his most recent ones, and they're fantastic. But we had him on the show and I was like fangirling like crazy. But like keeping it cool, but probably not that cool. Like, you can ask Adrian. He was probably like, Mallory, relax.
Wearing the shirt with his face on it. Like, I was totally keeping it cool. He never knew.
I was so chill. Yeah. But the reason, I mean, yes, I love his books, but the reason why I was fangirling so hard is because in my like entry to, you know, figuring out how to be a writer, when I was in the query trenches, when I was writing those first novels that got trunked that I had to cannibalize later, and I was just getting volleyball spiked into the ground by publishing every 5 seconds, which that doesn't stop, for the record. No. Oh no. Yeah, I mean it stops a little. Maybe you just get hardened to it, whatever. But I found his blog. So it's terribleminds.com/blog is where his blog is. And he has, I mean, he posts some random things on there. He posts, you know, like big political diatribes on there, which are great too. But he posts a lot of writing advice or, you know, publishing career advice, author advice. And there was a post I stumbled upon, again, this was like 2015, 2016, that was advice for querying writers. And one of the tips was harden the fuck up, Care Bear. That was literally the tip.
That's all it was.
Good job. I like it.
Harden the fuck up, Care Bear. And I literally read that and I was like, yeah. Yeah. And I made that quote my phone background. I've told Chuck this story and he was like, oh my God, what? Made that quote my phone background for my entire querying process. Because and it was just like that reminder, right? Every time, you know, I would pick it up where it's like, you know, don't lose heart, right? Just harden up. You know what I mean? Like, it's just business. It's fine. They're not hating you. They are just don't want to represent your book right now. Oh no. End of the world? I don't think so. Harden up. So yeah, that's my other piece of advice, which basically translates, if we're gonna be, you know, more kind about the advice, it's like, don't take things personally when, you know, if you're trying to go the trad pub path, or even, you know, if you're indie pubbing or any point in the process you're getting bad reviews or whatever, you know, that's, as long as you have done your work, you've put out a book that is what you wanted to represent, and it is a story you're meant to tell, and you've done it the best way you know how. Just keep soldiering on. You know, it's gonna be okay.
That's awesome. No, I think that's good. It's the old adage of like, so much of my anxiety was healed with the like the stupid things of like, no one's thinking about you as much as you are.
Yes, right. It's like, oh my God, you're so right.
Or like, so much healing was done when I heard like, that sounds like it's not about you. And I'm like, oh, that's not about me.
You're right. It's about me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That frees up so much of my mental energy. Yeah. 100%.
I was just walking around thinking that was about me. It's not. This is a little bit about the fact that you are a fantasy writer and you host the SFF Addict podcast. How do you like kind of navigate being a writer of fantasy and someone who also discusses it like ad nauseum on a podcast? Like, I feel like a lot of writers say they would struggle to actively like be a part of the discourse that they are trying to write for. So what's that like?
Honestly, I find it so fun. I mean, it is. So for me, the hardest part is balancing the time commitment, because you guys know hosting a podcast is so fun. It's more of a time commitment than you might think, because the, you know, whatever hour, however long your episodes are, every hour of that was hours of reading to prepping the questions, you know, getting on the call, blah, 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 editing the show, publishing the show, right? It's more work than you think. Adrian does a lot of the work for us. That's my co-host on SFF Addicts. He's fantastic. But you know, so I also have a full-time day job, right? So balancing all of that, that's really, for me, that's the hard part, is like balancing it. As far as like just sinking into the discourse, ooh, okay, if we're talking like discourse, like the Twitter discourse, no, I do not want to engage. I have no idea what's going on most of the time. I never know the tea. I never know the tea, even in my like day job when I'm there all the time, every day. I never know what's going on. But like, we're talking about like digging into like the meat of like what people love about writing and like the books that are out right now, and like talking to the authors that wrote them. Oh my God. It's like Christmas for me every time. I literally will take notes. I have a notebook where I take notes while we're interviewing these authors, because like I'm learning shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's like, I guess if I was going to give another piece of just like writing advice for myself, is learn from everywhere. Like, read all the writing blogs you can. Like, you don't have to get a degree. I have never taken a writing class. I've never even bought a writing book, which, not to say you shouldn't, right? If you can and whatever, and you want to do that. There's so many free resources out there, though. Read all the writing blogs you can, listen to shows like this one, listen to shows like mine. But there's so many out there. A Publishing Rodeo. Oh, another great podcast about publishing specifically. Read that one when you're closer to querying, or listen to it. But like, just soak up all of everyone else's processes. And most of that isn't going to work for you, but some of it will. You're going to take those processes that everyone else is doing, and you're going to bastardize them into a process that works only for you and your very unique brain. And you will never find that process I guess maybe you'll stumble upon it on your own. But the easiest way to find it, I think, is to just learn what everybody else is doing. And it's every book is its own beast too. So like, yes, I have my writing process and I'm comfortable with it, but it's constantly evolving. It's changing every day. So I love learning what other people are doing, because sometimes I'll be like, what we talked to an author one time that said he always starts, I forget if I wish I could remember anything. My brain is full of bees. It's fine. But he said he starts every project by writing a short story first and then expands upon that. Like that's his he writes like a little vignette, right? About to make sure that he has enough passion to continue on with the project. And I was like, how smart. I want to try that, right? Like, I don't know if it'll work for me, but I want to try it. It sounds cool. So yeah, I find it really fun. It's a cool time.
And I know like you had Michael J. Sullivan on your podcast recently, and I thought it was interesting that he had said like, yeah, I just like pick up a lot of stuff from like people I interact with daily. They say something, I'm like, oh, that was a cool way to say that. I'm gonna use that. And I never would have like thought of like, oh yeah, I just had a conversation with someone at a coffee shop. I'm totally gonna use a piece of this for my dialogue. Like,
right. Oh, seriously, the little tidbits, man.
One of my writing friends like seems to have trouble with one of their characters. This is a tip I've never used, but I always tell them to do. I'm like, write out their like astrological sign and why it's that. Like, just figure out what's making that tick. Like, just do that, and then I feel like you'll get a better handle on them. And I'm like, I've never taken that, but I also like have a deep connection with all of my like people where I'm like, well, this is probably their favorite food.
Oh yeah. I always put mine on the D&D chart, right? Are they chaotic neutral? Are they, are they lawful evil? What are they? Because yeah, that's fun for me. I mean, it's just fun. It's a fun little exercise, but like it helps inform me on what I'm doing with them.
That's awesome. No, and then could you tell us a little bit about what readers who have been following along with our reviews and our reading can expect in book 2, Thick as Thieves?
All right, so Thick as Thieves is my favorite book I've ever written still, for the record. Yeah, I love it so much. It's like my baby. But so it follows our crew after the predictably disastrous heist where everyone was betraying each other from book 1. So our crew is kind of split up at the beginning. They're kind of going in different directions, and they have to has the people that are listening right now, have they finished book 1? Have they read?
I mean, we have covered all of it
at this point. We have covered all of it.
If they listen to the past couple episodes,
here
they're very spoiled.
Perfect. Well, I'm about to spoil the epilogue, so if you haven't, dip out now, friends. But yeah, so Clem has the quill. Mm-hmm. That's bad news for everyone, literally everyone. Mm-hmm. So the story here is going to be, how do we make it so Clem doesn't have the quill?
Okay.
So, but yeah, we meet some new characters. We get a bunch of new pairings. We get 2 new heists. And a lot more fight sequences. Actually, that's why I was gonna laugh when I said that I don't like writing fight sequences, because actually my favorite scene that I wrote in Thick as Thieves was when you read it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a huge fight at the end, and that was like my favorite thing to write. So that was the one fight sequence I liked. But yeah, action-packed, fun, lots of humor, more betrayal, more swearing, more hatchets, all of the above.
Morally gray all over the place.
Yes.
Would you say that it is chaotic neutral or chaotic?
I would actually say it's aggressively chaotic neutral.
We have the D&D chart, guys.
We are aligned.
And MJ, just for a final question, what have you been reading, watching, and or enjoying?
Yeah, so right now I am actually about 60 hours deep in my playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3.
So many people have been reading, watching, and enjoying that.
Because it's amazing. It's so good. And I've been watching like these TikTok videos of people doing like this creative ass shit that I would never have thought to do. Like I just watched one today where there's like, okay, so if anyone's playing, there's like the goblin camp in the beginning. And I did the goblin camp. I mean, like I killed all of the goblins. I think there's a way to do it without doing that, but I didn't do that. The video I watched today was like literally this person like went around and gathered like oil barrels or whatever, grease barrels from I assume the whole map. And then they just went and placed them throughout the whole thing and then threw one firebomb. And then, of course, they did like the V for Vendetta, like playing 1812 Overture, like in the video of just like, just blew the whole goblin camp up. would never have thought to do that. So yeah, the game, the mechanics are so cool. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff that I have yet to figure out whatever, but I have so far rescued a stray dog. I rescued an owl bear cub. They both live with me at my camp and I love them.
That's
So there you
amazing. I think you're playing the game right. I think blowing up goblins is not as fun as collecting animals.
Collecting adorable
collecting all
creatures.
those oil barrels would be boring and hard work.
Through and through, you are always the rat girl. So.
I just need a rat now. That's the next animal I'm rescuing.
You're gonna find it. You're gonna find it.
If there's a rescuable rat in this game, she will be mine.
Well, where can people find you or find the book so that they can either read or find when you find the rat?
Yes. Yeah, I will update. I'll update on Instagram if I find the rat. So you can find me across all socials. So Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, blah, 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 all of them. At MJ Kuhn Books, all one word. You can also just go to my website, which is mjkuhn.com. So on there, you can get the links to the books and all my socials and stuff. But I have a blog. I have a writing blog on there. I haven't updated it in a while, but I do have stuff on there. There's also a free map download, the map of Timor, because I really wanted my publisher to print it in the book and they didn't. So I put it on my website, so you can have it. And there's also an official drink for Among Thieves, an official cocktail or mocktail. And if you sign up for my newsletter, you get a free novelette that I wrote. So there you go. All kinds of fun little goodies.
Yeah, sign up for that.
Run and go get that. And make sure that you're picking up both of MJ Kuhn's books because, what are you doing? We just covered an entire book for our
Among
podcast.
Thieves,
So
thick-ass thieves. Walk into your library and tell them you want thick-ass thieves.
Yeah, get them from your local library. I got one from my local library while I was waiting for the book to come in at my local bookshop, and then I went and got the bookshop. But hey, it's still
double
counted.
dipping.
I love that. Well, and that's the thing. If you don't have the resources or whatever, can't pick up the book, you can go to your library and ask them to order it for you, and usually they will. And then lots of people can read the same copy, which is amazing, and I love that. So
cool. So make sure you guys are doing that. Make sure you're following MJ Kuhn on all platforms, and make sure you're following us on all the platforms at OWWR Pod. And MJ Kuhn, thank you again for coming on. This has been
MJ.
Such a delight. We loved talking, and I love discovering that you were a rat girl. I will never forget that.
It's so nice to actually become friends in real life, besides just me and my car.
Separately forming parasocial relationships with each other through each other's podcasts. This is good. This has been so much fun. Thank you guys for having me on. This has been great.
Anytime. You're welcome back. Bye.
Bye.